Why, hello. Actually, it's another beautiful Tuesday. I have to say, today was absolutely gorgeous.
I was just casually sitting here. I didn't even realize we were having a show tonight.
Oh, yeah, it's showtime.
I mean, under the lights is how we kind of sit most of the time, right?
Spotlights. Under the spotlight.
Fancy pants.
Well, hey, welcome, and thank you again for joining the Main Stage Music Weekly live stream. I'm Brad with Main Stage Music, and we got Mr. Jamie Blanton, always right here. Well, not always. He missed last week. But anyways, you know, we were thinking of topics, always thinking of cool topics, and getting a lot of great ideas from y'all, okay, which we appreciate. And actually, one thing kind of happened in the last couple of days that really got me thinking about a topic that I know y'all have an opinion on. And by the way, we welcome your comments. We will read your comments on the air if they are appropriate, which they are.
We haven't had, I don't think we've had any inappropriate comments.
We did. We haven't had many inappropriate comments. There's things like, you know, I'm too handsome, or, you know,
Ibanez for life, Fender sucks.
I really like Ibanez. So,
yeah.
But no, I'm not going to hate on that. But really, we're talking about letting go. Is that a good gesture? Letting go.
Well, depending on which way you want to take the conversation, it might be very appropriate.
So letting go. When is a good time for you to say goodbye to that piece of gear? Now, I know this is a very open-ended topic, and we absolutely welcome y'all to discuss what your opinions are, because we value your opinion. But we've had people bring different pieces of equipment into the store, because obviously we welcome trade-ins, we do repairs. People sometimes just want to know, what do I got, you know? And sometimes I guess I look at this item, you know, and I say, why? Like, why are we working on this at all? Now, I mean, in all fairness, sometimes the reason is, well, this was my great-grandfather's guitar, and so for sentimental reasons, we want to get it fixed up as a tribute to our musical heritage. That's great.
Well, that's pretty justifiable.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
not really what you're talking about,
That's
right?
not what I'm talking about, because at that point you're referring to like a, you know, like an heirloom type of thing. You know, you're talking about, you know, what's going on with it. I guess what I'm saying is that there are some people who bring in, and again, I don't want this just to be contained with guitars, okay? But I'm just talking about something that happened, okay?
Items of questionable value.
Well, they brought in a guitar that had a lot of damage. Now, that doesn't bother me, because I could tell that what this was use. They were playing the fire out of it, okay? And it was an entry-level guitar, a guitar that sold probably new for maybe $150, all right? And man, they wore that thing out. I mean, you could see they had fret wear, which I actually like when I see fret wear, because it means you're playing, right? But the bridge was peeled up on it. It had chips, and I think the top had even started to delaminate.
A whole bunch of Sublime stickers on the
Yeah,
back.
I'm just like, wow. I mean, this thing was, you know, it must have been played in church, because it had the hell beat out of it.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, that was a terrible joke. But that being said, this thing, I'm looking at it going, sir, why? You know, why would you do this? Now, and of course, they're looking at me, well, because it's broke. And okay, I get that. I completely understand. I'm not, you know, but I guess, you know, at the point, the reason I was asking was more of like a rhetorical question. The repair, in the case of this guitar, is going to far exceed the cost of replacement of a guitar.
But this is what I was worried about with this topic. You're talking about two different things. You're talking about a generation of people, or a philosophical mindset of people who, you know, an item has its value. It was created. The materials were sourced. It was assembled by a craftsman. It produced a thing that does whatever it was intended to do mechanically. And then you don't just cast it out. You can always glue wood back together. You can fuse or weld steel back together. So that's one philosophy. There's also, because, you know, I watch a lot of repair videos on YouTube, there's plenty of times where that's probably the most frequent conversation about any repair is, does the cost of the repair outweigh the current commercial value of the instrument? Because it almost always outweighs the original commercial value, the original purchase price of the instrument. You know, if you bought a 60s Strat in 1980 for $150 and you needed a refret and you want to do something that was $200, then you're already spending more than what you paid for it, but you're not spending more than what it's worth now. But do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that's two different lines of thought.
It could be summed up into the word diminishing returns. So are you going to spend more than what the thing is? But some people might, what you're saying is it might have had a nominal cost where the guy had a good deal. In other words, the item is worth more than you paid for it now, where you would get the repair done. But what you're saying is there are some people that just think, well, I'm going to get it fixed because
and
it's fixable.
Not to go on too long, but like I think there's two types of people that would fix things for any reason. You already talked about the heirloom value, but you have some people that fix things just because they're fixable. Mm-hmm. You have other folks that would fix things that maybe you or others might see as maybe not worth the effort when you're compared to a retail wall full of better value, arguably better performing things, and this is their guitar, so they're fixing it anyway.
So that actually touches on a great kind of segue.
Of course it's a good idea.
It's not, what he says is better performing, okay? So now you have to remember, I just used guitar because it was something that walked into the store as an interesting little anecdote that kind of led me to think this is a great topic to discuss. But we both have sound systems, and I'm sure a lot of y'all do as well. And last weekend, was it, or 2 weekends ago? I can't even remember now. Time just sorts, floats, it just turns into ether. But I was did a wedding DJ. I was a wedding DJ. It was fun. And I used, kind of like modern equipment because I was thinking, man, I want to sound good, but I want to load in fast and load out fast and everything work and it be perfect, okay? Now, when I was at my cousin's wedding some years ago, they had a band that was pretty well regarded in the North Alabama, kind of live music scene. And I have to say the band was really good. I mean, they were a very tight, cover wedding style band. But again, as a gear guy, I'm looking at their stuff and they had big gray carpeted boxes. I think they were running a 3-way system, which for people who know what that is, that means you actually had subs separate from mid-range, separate from just highs. So they actually had a horn box, mids, and which meant they had to have a 3-way crossover and power amps.
Probably sounded good.
It didn't sound bad, but I'm looking at this stuff going, they make this in like 2 boxes now, and you don't have to haul all this stuff around. And this is a wedding. Your stuff is pretty ragged looking. I mean, if the mother of the bride spent $800 on a cake and $1,000 on flowers, and then y'all show up with a bunch of nasty looking stuff, you're the weak link in the chain. We got to think from a wedding. This is about pretty and pictures and all this kind of stuff. Additionally, one of the biggest things that I hear from people who they'll go, well, I'm hanging it up. I'm hanging it up. It's just got too heavy. I just can't haul this stuff around anymore. So they're hanging it up because it's too heavy, not like, hey, show me what you have that may be more efficient and lighter. They're going to give up a lifetime craft instead of letting go of possibly what they've known, the old stuff that's heavy and cumbersome and maybe doesn't perform well. They're going to hang up their entire craft, effectively depriving their city and town and whatever customers of music or whatever the service that they provide, instead of going and just investing in gear that will move their craft forward.
Nobody means that mess, man. Nobody means that. They're going to give it up. They're not going to give it up.
I'm just telling you what I've heard.
No, I know. I mean, I know people say that.
But I tell you.
Nobody means that, though.
So, I mean, here's the question. I mean, of course, we've already asked the question, but so we're talking whether you're a DJ, whether you're a live band, or if you're just playing a guitar, any type of instrument. When do you think it's time to let it go? Okay, wasn't there a popular Disney song about let it go?
No.
Oh, there wasn't?
There's never been any such a thing.
Because I honestly think, now again, I know, okay, everybody's, what's your angle? Wait a minute, don't you sell musical equipment? Listen, I think this would be a great constructive conversation to have, not just because, yes, we sell music equipment and so on, but what do you do when you decide, what?
The argument should go the other way. You could take those old carpeted boxes and bring them in. If the question is the angle, from the restoration standpoint of today and the difficulty of getting materials and the fact that some things aren't produced the same, if you want to bring something back up, buy new drivers, new little crossover boxes,
There
modify things. I mean, you can shave weight, you can add casters, you can put lean back. There's all kinds of neat
solutions.
Yeah, there's all kinds of not even main stage. There's Amazon solutions if you don't mind prescribing to low wages and bad working environments. There's Amazon solutions for all kinds of stuff with speakers. You can tilt back, put them on sliders.
So I guess the thing is though, is that, okay, we're talking equipment, but we're also talking about, does this guitar or instrument, again, we're guitar players, so naturally that's always going to come up. Like, when is it time to get rid of it? Like, I've had that old guitar for 20 years. Well, when's the last time you played it? Oh, I don't play it. I don't like the way it plays no more. It doesn't sound very good. But I've had it for 20 years. And so, I've heard that a lot. But I'm going, so it doesn't inspire you anymore. Okay, you may not play as much because every time you pick the guitar up, maybe it hurts your hand, or I don't like the way it sounds, or whatever. So again, why do you still have this guitar? Let's play. Again, it doesn't have any kind of value as far as it was my great granddaddy's. We're not talking about that. I bought it at 1-2-3 Music in Birmingham, and whatever it happens to be, and but just the fact that the Earth has gone around the sun a certain amount of time, but you've always hated the guitar. But there are people who won't get rid of it because they feel like, oh, guitar, I've got that checked off the box.
But there's also people that have guitars like that. I mean, think about the guys that have 20 Strats on the wall. Like, they're Strat guys, right? And that's fine. Like, you've got one or two that you play all the time, and you've got these other 20 because this one kind of looks like a Hendrix when you saw somewhere, or this one kind of looks like something, but you don't ever touch it. You don't play. So there's people with more than just checking.
And it's the same guitar.
Man, this is a fascinating conversation.
No,
to us. How many other people think it's fascinating?
Well, no, there's a handful of people that are watching, not commenting.
Yeah, nice.
Maybe you feel uncomfortable to comment on such a topic, but I mean, it's kind of like the guy who has, like he says, 20 some odd Strats. He only plays 2 of them. I mean, there must have been some sort of compulsion, or a reason he bought it in the first place.
It's so hard, man. This conversation is almost impossible not to rabbit hole on.
Well,
but I mean, I've seen people break things out of the case, and not that I've got a guitar, but this was made in '82, and it was the only year that they had a short whammy bar on it.
Okay,
well, that's cool. How do you like it? Oh, well, I think the pots are out on it, and it's like,
sure.
Great,
well,
I mean,
honestly,
well, what are you doing with it?
We experienced that the other day when we had the bass episode. I have a pretty substantial collection of old instruments, right? That, in all honesty, a lot of them don't get played. So why do I have them? Well, honestly, I have them for exactly the reason that we had that episode. Because I can teach other people about what that stuff was, and it's just the hunt.
Well, you're the perfect example of when you would almost never let anything go. Mm-hmm. You are a collector.
So again, a viable reason is he collects Stratocasters. Sure. I don't really think that that's kind of what I'm talking about. I'm really talking about the person who's actually using their equipment. Like, let's take like we had talked about a DJ or a guitar player.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I can answer the question. You want to answer? Or you want to comment first?
Well, first of all, I thank you for the comments. Ryan piped in, missing out on the best tones in life.
He said because of something about Strat guys.
Oh, he feels sorry for Strat guys because they're missing out on the best tones of life. You know what? Strats have an undeniable sound, and I don't know if I call anything best, but best for you? Hey, I know Ryan likes those single coil guitars for sure.
No.
So
I
they're
mean,
great.
I know where he's coming from.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's also a position opposite of the topic tonight.
Well, you
when
know
to
what,
let
Ryan?
go.
Here's a good question.
If Ryan enjoys all the sounds in life, then there's never much of a reason to get rid of anything,
Ryan,
because
here's a
you
question.
need all the soundscape, right?
Ryan, here's a question for you. You have a studio, and you're a very accomplished composer and songwriter, singer, player, and so on. When did you decide to get rid of your outboard gear for your studio? Do you have any outboard gear? Now, for the people who are watching, outboard gear are maybe effects processors, compressors, any kind of thing that's not,
Well,
you know.
when did you go from DAT to DAW?
When did you go from DAT to DAW? There you go. And then what did you do with your DAT?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's.
Now, the reason I'm asking these questions, it's something that's truly whatever, because there is another issue. Okay. Obviously, with electronics, things move forward. Generally speaking, there are some things like this microphone. Microphones have changed very little in the last almost 100 years. Okay, very little. So microphones, I mean, you could keep, if it worked, you could keep an SM58 your entire life and it'd be, still an SM58 and function just fine.
And always serviceable.
Exactly.
And generally always worth the repair.
But then you think of other products like maybe speakers. Like what kind of speakers were out when the SM58 came out? Well, Shure actually made what they called column PAs, which have made a comeback. That's what those little Bose towers or whatever are, really. Just a redo of all the old column PAs from the late 1960s. But they were heavy boxes that usually had a bunch of 10 or 12-inch speakers in them. Everybody made them. Marshall even made a PA. Custom PV popularized the first affordable one. So when you bought this SM58, which you might still use today, when did you get rid of or decide, yeah, these speakers ain't cutting the mustard? Because, with technology, as let's say the point source box came out where you had a horn and a single 12 or whatever that you could put up on a stand, it was half the weight, a lot easier to tote around. Did people still, how long did you keep those column speakers after that?
Well, see if we can prove this one wrong. I think it's time to give up when your ability or your budget allows you to. That's my answer to the question.
Well,
so if your speakers, if you feel the need to improve your sound, right? Mm-hmm. Then that would be a motivator to get rid of something older. Or if you can just simply afford just to buy new junk all the time, then that would also be a reason to get rid of something.
So now that's an interesting viewpoint, because if you are buying equipment as, let's say, a side hustle or a business, okay? When I was taking accounting in college, we learned about long-term assets. It's any asset that you would keep longer than a year that you make money on. So think of it like a computer, tools, things, and so on. When you account for that, you have to set what's called a salvage value. So you have to, on your general ledger, say, this hammer cost me $28 today, but I plan on using it 5 years, and when it's done, when I'm done using it for 5 years, I estimate its value to be, and then you have to put some sort of value. Let's say
between 0 and some number greater than 0.
Yeah, so $1, okay, or whatever. So then you take that 5-year thing and you do what's called amortization, which is effectively writing down that long-term asset over 5 years.
Well, depreciation, right?
Well, but it will naturally depreciate, but you amortize. In other words, you can write off a specific portion of that over the course of the life of the asset. So that's why you can't just buy a truck and then write it off. They don't allow that, okay? But that being said, you if you're a business, you would think that, well, how long do I plan on keeping that? So even in the accounting world, which is very boring and cold and emotionless, they know that everything has a shelf life and everything has some sort of salvage value. So do any of you guys ever think about, I plan on using this sound system for 5 years and then replacing this.
Buy something and know when in the future you'll get rid of it?
No, there is a reason for this.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Because when you think about it, when does a warranty run out on a
That's
speaker?
what I was going to say,
okay?
yeah.
So if you're a business and you're the first owner, you usually are the only person that gets a warranty on something, on let's say a set of speakers. So like Yamaha, I know that you and I are both big Yamaha DXR fans. They've got the most incredible warranty at 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So basically,
QSC is 3, and then you can get another 3 if you register it.
So the point is after 7 years, they will probably still work great and they sound amazing. But you're kind of in a cold. So if you're you don't really have many options as far as service outside of just paying out of pocket. So if you're a business, you might think, you know what? Let's set our distance at the warranty period, put the salvage value at $1, and just say every year these speakers are going to cost me X amount of dollars. And then you effectively pull that number from whatever gigs you might have done. So let's just use an even number.
And you go less broke than you would have gone otherwise.
Well, what I'm saying is that let's say you spend something for $500 and you decide you're going to keep it for 5 years and have a salvage value of $1 or nothing. That means that every year it costs you $100 to have. If you made $100 or more that year, then guess what? When you get rid of it, who cares? You got absolutely nothing in this thing. You just have to.
Did I ever show you my gig estimation spreadsheet?
No, I'd love to see it.
Dude, it shows hours of practice. It shows overhead for the rental of each individual's instruments. It shows the overall overhead of the band's PA or charge or subcontract expenses to achieve it. Shows mileage to the show. It shows downtime for when you set up the 2 hours before to get sound checked. Then you're just sitting around looking at yourself trying to figure out what to do. I put every bit of that in, and all gigs come out to like $7,000, but we'll negotiate $2,500 to come play.
I'm going to discuss
place.
that in just a second, but first I'm going to touch on a couple of comments. First of all, thank you guys for commenting. Kyle Clark, who just wants to be a contrarian.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he wants to be an edgelord.
Thanks, Kyle.
He says, I've never played a Strat. ... No.
I've never played a Strat.
He's never played a Strat.
Cool, man. See if you can ride that the whole time. That'd be cool.
You got Joshy Cox, who said, I have a guitar I bought in general, but I've not really felt like playing it. And honestly, I enjoy playing my uke and my bass a whole lot more.
There you go.
That's great. Ryan, bounce back in. Tone is subject to the listener. Obviously, I completely agree. Certainly no right or wrong. I prefer a Telly or a Les Paul. The reality is we all kind of get jacked up and cynical when it comes to tone and brands. If we closed our eyes and listened more with our ears and not our eyes, then all of us would probably open horizons to new things.
That's 1,000% true.
Habits are hard to break, and honestly, I'm a hypocrite and guilty of it all. I think we are all hypocrites.
Well, that's a nice little bit of self-awareness for the evening.
You know what? He got a lot more self-aware once he got married.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, you had some help.
Congratulations, by the way. Adam Martins goes, I'll snag up awesome deals to later sell or trade for something else I'm curious about. I will then repeat the cycle if not satisfied with that instrument over time. That is a great thing that we were actually going to talk about.
I would say that's most similar to my behavior as well.
And then, of course, Paul McDonald has to chime in and goes, never, which, whatever. So
never get rid of anything,
so
ever?
Here's the thing. I've seen that meme on Facebook where they go, I've practiced guitar for 10 years and the practice time and learning songs and driving to a gig and whatever and so on. And you know what? That is an awesome way to look at it, but it's also a completely inaccurate way of looking at it, okay? Because think about this. Do you get paid to drive to work? No. You can't even write the mileage off to and from work on your taxes, okay? You can only write mileage off during work. So the government doesn't view it as work, and so neither should you. But the point is that you still have to get to work, okay? And so that happens. Additionally, when you went to college or trade school or whatever to learn how to do
that is a different contract mechanism. If you're getting paid per hour for a certain number of hours a week, maybe you've got some personal overhead. If you're hiring me to show up here and I don't have to do that, I can ask you to pay me to get there.
You can, but it is probably wiser to just build it into your price.
Could do that.
Because
I think it's funnier to itemize it, though.
From a tax standpoint, you might have an issue there.
It's funnier to drive the stake in the heart of these, you can come play for exposure. Yeah, I got some things that you can do too.
Additionally, when you went to school, trade school, college, apprenticeship, whatever it is that you did, how much did the MSU pay you to learn how to do geotech stuff?
I didn't do that at state.
Well, you learned some
The Mississippi
stuff
State Band paid me $500 a semester to play that trumpet.
Usually, it's the other way around. You have to pay to learn how to do your job.
Yeah, it was full-time per semester at state was like $1,400.
So, I mean,
and that was 12 hours plus.
And nowadays,
still the best deal in the SEC, y'all.
Mississippi State is pretty awesome.
Hell yeah.
So, now that being said, you pay for your learning, okay? So, hey man, you practice your craft, you learn the song, you do all this kind of stuff.
Did you just make a comparison between a crap gig and an SEC institution?
I don't play crap gigs.
What?
I don't play crap gigs.
What?
I only play good gigs.
Camera 3 right here. What? Oh, camera 2. Yeah. Sorry about that.
The thing
I didn't tell the producer the right
that's worth doing isn't crap. Any job worth doing isn't crap. So if you show up and you agree to do something and you do less than your best,
we're getting so far off. There are plenty of gigs not worth doing.
That being said,
all right, let's get back to when's the time.
Getting back to when's the time to get rid of this stuff. The way that I've looked at my gear is I look at stuff. Do I want to buy something that can be fixed? And hey, let's make no bones about it. There is some gear that cannot be fixed. There are some guitars that just by their design, when they start to do what all guitars eventually will do, succumb to heat, pressure, and time, there ain't any fixing of that guitar, okay? You will never make it the way it is. So basically, there are some things that you can choose to either buy that you can fix and some things that you can't. Ryan, thanks for commenting. I will say that's the best microphone drop in the last 100 years that I've ever heard. I don't play crap gigs. I love it. You heard it here.
Yeah, except it's a stinking lie.
And he played for the Whalers. Opened for the Whalers.
We opened for the Whalers.
Okay, so and whaling is a terrible thing.
What's that got to do? That was a good gig.
Well, I know, but think of all the poor whales that lost their lives.
Oh, it was unfortunate. All of those really cute girls in cute shoes just bathing in whale fat out in the audience.
Baleen. They would use baleen to make combs for wealthy socialites. Baleen.
Oh, Lord. Where's the conversation going?
Long story short, it's like the way that I would buy gear, being a cold,
calculating,
manipulating, accountant-style musician,
nefarious,
is I look at equipment and I go, how long do I expect to keep this? And then once I exceed that, let's say, time that I've established for it, so let's say 5 years, guess what? Every gig that I play past that 5 years, I'm on borrowed time and the gig is making me extra money. Now, the point is that the second it fails, it's like, I'm out.
I'm going to throw another perspective on you. Where Brad gets a little excited after 5 years because he's making a little extra at a gig, I, like Ryan, am excited because I played half a gig with this guitar. I sold it to a guy in the audience and bought a new one on Craigslist. Then I get to play a new guitar.
So, no, that's a great thing.
That's an excitement that I get.
Now, let me tell you something, and I think that is really good, okay? We live in a time where it is more and more challenging just to be, okay? And the side hustle is here to stay, okay? Whether you're out driving Uber or DoorDash or playing gigs or teaching guitar lessons online or doing whatever, I think side hustles are here to stay and are great. But some people just don't have the same entrepreneurial drive as others. So let's say you have this equipment. You've decided you're not inspired by it. It's not helping you get the gigs you want to get, or it's just not doing what you want it to do. What do you do with your equipment when you've decided that I need to move to something else?
Option A, bonfire.
Okay.
Option B, push it off of an interstate bridge.
Okay.
Main Stage Music does not condone the pushing of instruments off of interstate bridges. What would be the third one?
Well, I know
You could try and fit it into cavities of your enemies.
Now, let me tell you, he's being Mr. Funny Guy. But one thing that my family will tell you about me, okay? First of all, I am not any kind of ist, okay? But I despise waste.
Oh.
Needless waste. And electronic waste is a huge problem globally, okay?
I'm salivating a little bit for needless waste.
I'm just telling you, I don't like it. And if you can recycle something, you should do it, okay? And if you see my garage, I know I've got separate my 1s and 2s plastic and my brown and green glass and all that kind of stuff. And I'm the guy who diligently goes to recycling and does that. So I truly believe in that. And now that being said, if your stuff just dies, please try to recycle it, okay? There are all sorts of great electronics recycling programs. There are, there are all sorts of ways that you can cleanly dispose of stuff. But, one last thing that I would like to at least toss out there as an idea. And I know that Chattanooga, I don't know how it's arranged, okay? But I would like to state on this show that in our community, in the Ray County community, if anyone would like to partner with me, I would be very interested in this program as well, okay? I think that it would be a great way to get rid of your old gear that's not inspiring you, if it has little to no monetary value, to donate it to people who do not have the means to do something. Another issue that we have in our community is, unfortunately, we have some young people who maybe didn't have the same privileges that we had in maybe learning music or getting to know it or so on. We've already made donations to the Dayton City School and the Dayton High School. If you remember that episode we had, Mr. Smith and Mr. Cosby from the high school, where we've donated music, guitars and stuff to a music program. I would like to see that expanded, where we could donate an old mixer, old speakers, old power amps, because there is a vacuum, there's a need that's not being served in our area for, let's just say, the low-cost party DJ, the kid who's, creating beats out of something, or there's all sorts of production and we'll just say music and entertainment-based opportunities that are being wasted because the people who might be the kids that could do it don't have the privilege or the ability to have this equipment. I would love to partner with our library, like Chattanooga has that, where you can check out a keyboard or a snare drum, and I don't know where they're getting that stuff from, but I assume it's donated.
Well, Sunbirds has a guitar program in Hamilton County.
Yeah, but at the library, they've got, it's older stuff.
Yeah, you can go check out instruments.
Yeah, it's older stuff, and I would love if, anybody knows anybody at the Dayton Library or something.
And you don't have to donate a bass for a kid to get a bass. You can donate old cabinets, old amps. Those can be of value exchanged into other instruments
Sure.
wherever you have a cavity in the
So
in the
we've
catalog.
got Jerry chimed in. I know like Hendrix, SRV, Buddy Guy, Clapton Mayer, Poor Tone, Def Six-String Slingers. Yeah.
Man,
Applying to that.
I think we're gonna have to have we're
Yeah.
gonna have to have a Strat show, evidently.
Then we also have Paul, who says tone chasing is a dead end.
Tones in your hands, man.
I'm not going to disagree with Jamie, and I'm not going to disagree with you.
I
but
mean,
I will say this.
I don't prescribe to the theory, but that's what people say.
Well,
Tones in your hands.
But I'll also say this.
It's very true.
What other kind of things are people chasing? Okay, I mean, they could be following movies. They could be, there's all sorts of things that don't really have much constructive ends, but they just enjoy doing it. You know?
I hate to lose the point of what you're trying to emphasize.
So anyways, so then Ryan wanted to chime in and says, "Hey, Brad, put your money where your mouth is." Already did. I see a lot of gear in your showroom that is going to waste, and it is electronic. So if you would like me, I can come pick it up at no charge to you. Now, Ryan, I know, no, hey, you know what? Big mouth? Just kidding. I know you're trying to be funny, but if you listen to what I was just saying, I want that, okay?
Is Ryan a kid?
Ryan is not a kid. He's a very wealthy banker
Oh.
who lives in the Saudi Daisy area.
Well, he sounds like a good
he is the guy.
active partner.
So what I'm saying, Ryan, is I want to partner with someone. The only reason I mentioned the library is because Chattanooga's library has a program
Man, you could
already.
do theaters, social groups. You could do anything.
And see, that's the thing. You mentioned theater.
Yeah.
Theater uses sound equipment.
Sure.
They use lighting. They use all this kind of stuff. And if we could get more people involved, even with older gear, okay? Oh, Channel 6 doesn't work on that mixer. Then don't use Channel 6,
yeah.
and they'll still be able to do something with it.
Just snip the jack off of the board and use the other 16 or 15.
I want to see more young people engaged in what it is that we do. There's nothing secretive about what we're doing. This is just a craft, a skill, but it's something that can serve you, and honestly, you can make a living doing this kind of stuff if you're diligent and you are constantly. But I would love to see gear being donated more, because I don't really know. I mean, outside of, we've made some donations for the high school, like we mentioned, but I don't know of any programs in our area where we have that.
Dude, that's really. So when I took my son out for a sound gig, and I paid him an amount of money, and I paid him an amount of money that would have been twice what he could have made working all week at bagging groceries. And I'm still encouraging him to. We got to find him a job that fits with a pretty rough schedule. That's beside the point. The point is, if you had an opportunity for kids to get sound equipment, set up PA, run a DJ gig for, $150, $350, $750 bucks, whatever it was. Economic driver, more music in the community. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
And I'll tell you what, if your
I like that idea, man.
If your kid is on the other end of that DJ controller, he's probably not getting into trouble. Okay?
Well, not for those 6 hours anyway.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's something where you're learning a bankable skill.
He might have some young suitors at the event trying to get him into trouble later.
Shh.
Or her.
That's not what teenagers
Or
do.
them or they.
But I mean, I guess the key is that, so we've talked, obviously if you're entrepreneurial, you can put your stuff on Craigslist and deal with meeting in parking lots, and I don't know, I'll give you half of what you're off, all that kind of stuff. If you are, thinking like I'm thinking, you could donate it. We don't have a program for that. I'd love to learn more about that if anyone is interested in that. You can throw it away, but there's another thing, and that is you can trade it in, okay? So, I mean, we do trade-ins and we buy equipment every day at Main Stage, okay? Now, of course, it has to be relevant stuff, okay? It can't be stuff that is used up, because we don't offer broken stuff to our customers. But we offer very high trade-in values. And you might say, like we're talking about letting go, like why would somebody trade something in? The answer is actually very simple. Because it does not inspire them to create anymore. So you might have a guy who was really into playing hard rock or heavy metal, okay? And so he had a guitar that was striking as far as its shape and everything about it was to the. But then he started listening to, and he was changing and listening to more, let's just say, jazz. And he thought, I'm not going to play this Flying V with a Floyd Rose tremolo. It's a really nice guitar. I want to move into something else. You're not failing in your craft. You're simply adapting. And the only thing constant in life is change. And so knowing that, we offer a very generous trade-in policy. It's 70%, okay? So you take whatever your gear is worth, you get a 70% trade-in using it as currency at the shop. It's way higher than anyone else. And that way you can move your craft to something that is going to, again, inspire you to that next level, to that next change, okay? So trades are a way that we're trying to encourage you guys to grow, to get better with what it is that you're doing, whatever better means, okay? We've had people that go, I really love this old Martin guitar I've got, but I can't plug it in and I can't play a gig with it. I need something that I can do that with. Well, turn it into something that you can use, So that's what we're trying to encourage with that. And you know what? When you trade something in that's not inspiring you, when it gets put on the wall, it may inspire somebody else and be exactly what they were looking for to move their craft forward. So it's really kind of a symbiotic thing. One thing feeds another thing. And by doing something that you're not using, you're likely helping someone else who was looking for that exact thing that you can't just pick up the phone and order. So that's another option. I mean, again, I know it's kind of a weird subject. I know everybody's, got an opinion on certain things, okay?
Well, it's a fairly open-ended question.
It is.
So
It is a very open-ended
You might expect
question.
there to be a number of different ways to approach it.
But, I guess the thing that I have to tell you, it's like from a math standpoint, understand that for some reason, music equipment tends to hold some sort of higher spot than anything else in y'all's life. I mean, can you honestly tell me that when you bought your 72-inch 1080p, television for $2,800 so many years ago, that you go, well, I'm going to get a Samsung because I'll get good money out of it when I'm going to sell it. Most people buy that stuff fully knowing that when a couple of pixel lines start going out and it starts glitching on you, you're going to throw it out. You have zero salvage value set for it. Same with a cell phone, same with a laptop, same with most electronics that you have in your home. A microwave, a range. You don't see people, going, well, I buy GE Profile because, man, when I want to sell it, I get good. No, I mean, it's just not that way.
I think that's influenced by the extent of the used market that's present in the world. So everyone understands used cars. We certainly understand the cost of real estate, which is used sticks in the air. Used guns are of significant value.
Yep.
Used jewelry when it can be qualified. Used luxury goods, purses and such, when those can be
within a certain
validated.
range.
But think about used Les Pauls, used Louis Vuitton purses. Some purses worth a lot more than Les Paul.
Mm-hmm.
But I can go right now, and I know that I can go to anywhere in Nashville and find a used Les Paul that I know has been, validated. It's probably been set up right. It plays. It's got an expectation. How many, fraudulent sources? So I think it's how developed the used market is to that point.
Maybe. I think also a lot of it is in, when you mentioned a purse. Okay. Now I know, my wife took me to the Louis Vuitton store when we were in Las Vegas. I had no clue that $4,000 for a little clutch. I'm like, Now, I mean.
But she wanted it forever.
Or at least a month.
But here's the funny thing is that, so I start looking at stuff, and of course they've been making bags a long time, and there's other very high-end luxury brands. But you know what? When they go out of style, it doesn't matter what name's on it, you have some old, something from 1992 that nobody, it's just not fashionable anymore.
Yeah, I think your
zero.
point's still going to drop because most of the designers have a long-term design, and that's why they're an established designer, and so it maintains value. Something that's plated in chrome, like a Gibson Modern, or some kind of mess like that, robot tuners.
Oh man,
it's not gonna grow the same. I'm sticking with my point. I think it's the extent of the used market.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess at the end of the day, what we're trying to say is that everything has a shelf life. Okay. And we just have to establish what we think our shelf life is. So like when I was saying about like the business side of a sound system, if you want to keep your stuff up to date, reliable, so on and so forth, because you don't want it to fail on a gig, you might set yourself a time limit and say, this is how long I'm going to keep this. If I decide to keep it after that, I don't have any emotional connection to it. If it throw it in the dumpster, who cares? Okay. Recycle it. Don't throw it in the dumpster. But if you're talking about something like a guitar, decide whether the guitar is something that was designed to be fixed in the first place. Okay? So if you buy a lot of these really inexpensive guitars, they are the kind of things that you effectively just use until you use up. They are designed to simply be a disposable
Expendable.
item. Yeah. Expendable, disposable, And so to treat something like that as something that I'm going to treasure this $150 guitar the rest of my life, you might just want to kind of gauge your expectations a little bit there, because everything is going to need some maintenance, and oftentimes guitars like that, once you start using them, and actually you just can't fix them. Okay. And then I guess what you do with something that is fixable, that is still got value and so on, I like the idea of, if you're not going to use it anymore, of trying to get it in the hands of someone who else, will use it. I believe when the tide comes in, all the ships rise together. And so when you have more people involved in our craft, I think that it makes the craft more visible, and it'll make it better for everyone involved. And that involves bringing people in who maybe didn't have the privilege to, maybe have a family or parents or someone buy something for them and give them a chance. And so I think that's something that's worth talking about. Yeah, we got one last comment, and Ryan will kind of end on that one. He goes, one last comment. I'd rather give you the title to my Honda Civic versus getting rid of my DXRs. I agree. Yeah, I agree. They are stellar and quite underrated speakers. Underrated?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, maybe. They don't do as much advertising as some of these other people. But I'll tell you, the DXRs are nothing short of awesome. I just used the 10s at that gig.
Yeah?
Lord have mercy, man. They made your feelings move.
Did Ryan say he was donating his Civic to your program?
Well, I guess. Every teenager needs a used Civic. So,
no.
But anyways, hey guys, I want to thank you so much for watching again and contributing and so on. If you like what you see, feel free to share, invite your friends to get in on the conversation. And if you haven't already, check us out on YouTube and subscribe and like and do all that kind of jazz. But I guess we'll see you guys next Tuesday for another riveting conversation.
Strats are good, strats are bad.
Strats are awesome.